Are you planning a trip to Fraser Island? Well, here's 10 things you need to know. Let's get started.
So the first thing you want to know is local knowledge. So you want to join, there's plenty of Facebook groups that you can join, and there's heaps of chatter on there and questions, and probably the question that you're searching for is already on there, like if you have a bit of a look. But there's questions all the time being filtered through there, so jump on one of the Facebook groups, join one of them, and you can ask questions and see what's going on in there.
Be fairly up-to-date knowledge, so chances are someone's already here
100%
doing it, so first-hand knowledge is good.
And there's people on there that'll help you out too if you need stuff. And also along with that, there's a really good Gari app that you can get for your phone, and when you can go in there and there's all maps on there, there's offline maps. There's a really good one there that shows you all the camping spots and stuff like that up and down the island, and different places that are fenced and things like that. So grab that app on your phone. That's really helpful with all the information that you could possibly need to help you out.
Tip number 2, tide times. Check your tide times, get your tides right. A lot of the places along the beach here, especially Hook Point, a couple of bits that we had up north, the beach has changed so much that up around zone 8 there was some spots there you're not going to be able to pass at high tide. So get your tides right. Also along those lines, check your inland tracks as well. Some places will have inland tracks that you can actually bypass. So at the moment, up near Orchard, high tide, you got to go up past the servo and then back down again, because the water's actually right up to that cliff there. So check your tide times, get them right. And
you don't want to be a peanut driving through the dunes and rolling your car because you've fallen off the dunes. So.
It's actually illegal to drive through the dunes, so beware.
Don't do that.
Tip number 3, camping fees, vehicle permits and barge fares. Camping fees can be done through Queensland Parks and Wildlife on the internet.
It's about $7 per person per night.
Yeah, $7 per person per night. You can go on there, pick your camp zone or campground that you want, check availability, book it, pay on there. You do your vehicle permit through there as well. Nice and easy. Print that off, print your campground tickets off as well. And then your barge, there's 3 barges. Inskip Point's the easiest for us because we're coming from the south, up through Rainbow Beach out to Inskip. They run every 10 minutes or so.
Just line up and wait your turn.
You line up, wait, pay on the barge, cash preferred, but they do have FPOS there if that's all you got. Our vehicles were $130 just for the car to get across.
That's return too. So.
Return, and it took about 10 minutes or so. They will have 2 barges running during peak times, so Christmas and Easter, long weekends, stuff like that, they'll usually run 2 barges. Check your tide times though. When there's king tides, they won't run during that king tide period because the water is actually up over the bank, and it'll be too shallow for the barges to get up, so check that. The other barges that run out of riverheads, they run every couple of hours, so check on those as well. The barge trip from memory was about an hour and a half or so, and that goes into Ngkala Creek. Sorry if I said that wrong. And then you just got to hightail it across the island and it comes out at Eurong. And then the other barge will be out of Pyalba, Harvey Bay, and that'll go across to Kingfisher Bay Resort there, off and then up through Kingfisher and over.
So your barge would probably would come down to where you're coming from off the mainland, if you're coming from the north or somewhere like that, depending on where you're travelling, and also depends on where you're staying on the island too, as to where you would sort of enter, I suppose, what your trips are planned for. But
that's it.
So tip number 4, this happens to me every time I come here, it rains. So prepare for rain. Make sure you got some sort of cover, because it's unpleasant to sit in the rain when you're camping, like any time. But prepare for rain. Have some sort of shelter if you're camping in a swag or a tent or something like that. Make sure you got some sort of cover, some emergency ponchos or an umbrella or something like that.
And if it's raining, it's probably going to be windy as well.
Yeah.
So more exposed beach, particularly on the eastern side, you're going to get wind and you're going to get rain. So look for sheltered areas behind the dunes. Is a good spot.
So with your camping too, in talking about your different spots on that app with the map that's got all the zones sort of labelled out. You can sort of pick and choose the different areas. It does say on there whether they're fenced too, so if you've got kids, obviously you might want to be in a
Dingo
fenced area.
fences.
Tip number 5, recovery gear. So obviously you're on a sand island. You do need a full drive. Don't come over in your Qashqai because it's not going to make it. So you do need a full drive. You do need to let your tyres down. Don't drive over here on full pressure, even though you think you might be able to do it. So you need to cover some sort of bare minimum recovery gear. So bring a snatch strap and some shackles to be able to attach that. A lot, like most people nowadays, have got some sort of recovery boards, and you can get yourself out usually. We don't need to go into like how to drive on sand. That's a whole nother episode. But you know, there is some techniques and tips, obviously driving in sand. But if you're driving at high tide most of the time, most of the inlet tracks and things like that to different camp spots and towns and that are pretty passable in your standard four-wheel drive. Just obviously be wary, but cover the basics.
Yeah.
Cover
Don't rely on someone else for their
100%.
recovery gear.
So
Take something with you.
cover the basics. Bring a snatch strap and some shackles. At least if you do get stuck and you're by yourself and someone comes past, they'll help you if you got your own gear.
Yep.
Or have some recovery tracks. They're getting cheaper these days, and you can probably almost get yourself out with those. Bring a shovel, longhand shovel. You can dig sand out of the way and make a track and get out. So bring the basics.
Tip number 6. Fuel. Fuel can be a bit of a contentious subject sometimes.
Especially if you have a petrol Land Cruiser.
You can be quite thirsty. Oh, my old diesel patrol hasn't been much better. So yeah, like Graham said with the tide times, if you're driving at high tide, you're going to burn a lot more fuel than at low tide. There is fuel over here. We've got fuel at Orchid Beach, Cathedral Beach, Eurong, Kingfisher Bay and Happy Valley. It's going to be expensive. It's about $1.50 more expensive than mainland, so be prepared for that. Weigh it up, like if you got to pay for dual jerry can holders and 2 jerry cans and fill them up before you come up, all that extra cost might just be easier just to buy here. And you're also supporting the locals that live here on the island as well, so when you are filling up with fuel, go and spend some money in the shop. Don't worry about it. It's all good. You're on holiday and you're supporting locals that actually live here.
Tip number 7, your vehicle. So make sure you prep your car before you come. So this is talking about things like make sure it's safe. Make sure there's that clunking noise that you heard for 6 months you've had fixed, because the beach is pretty, like the hard sand on the beach is pretty good, but some of the inland tracks are very rough and your car's going to be bouncing like this the whole time. So if you've got something loose or worn out, it's probably going to break doing that sort of stuff. So make sure everything's fixed and working properly. Make sure you've done your pre-checks and your vehicle's serviced and stuff like that. If your car burns oil, make sure you got oil in it. So simple things like that. Packing, make sure when you pack that you've packed well and everything's secured. Like I said before, like those inland tracks are rough and stuff's going to be bouncing around. If you haven't packed it or secured it down properly, it is going to move around and wreck things and break things.
Even high tide.
Even if you're up in the soft sand, you're going to be moving around.
Washouts.
Yeah, well. So just be aware of that when you're packing, and make sure you haven't got too much heavy stuff up top. Try and pack your car so that the heavy stuff's down low and lighter stuff's up the top, and that just spreads the weight and stops it moving around as much. So just check things like that. Make sure your tyres are up to scratch. Obviously make sure your tyre pressures, we mentioned it before, make sure your tyre pressures are down for when you're driving on the beach.
And one of the things I did was I got Lenlin spray. And I just went through and just sprayed all of the wheel arches and just all of the bits that'll get exposed to the sand. It's going to be inevitable that you're going to get some salt water on your car somewhere during the trip, so I just do that as a bit of a preventative maintenance, and then post trip hose it down,
good bath, clean out all the cavities and chassis rails and everywhere the sand and the salt and stuff like that's going to sit.
Underbody spray at Rainbow Beach.
Oh, that's a good one too. Go and wash it out
or something, so.
Clean it out properly, get all that sand and salt out, and it'll last. Tip
number 8, dingoes. There are dingoes around. So be careful, be vigilant. You don't have to be scared of them. You just got to be aware of them. Get your Wangari stick ready. There's sticks available here. The rangers will be driving around giving out sticks.
Yeah, a
and
bit
stickers.
of orange conduit.
Yeah, just to protect yourself. Don't leave your kids unattended. Don't sit up in the dune and watch your kid down in the water, because the dingoes can come along pretty quick, and if they want to have a go, they'll have a go. Don't leave food out overnight. If you're not camping in a fenced area, you just got to be smart about it. Don't leave food out. Put your rubbish away. Close your vehicle up, stuff like that. Don't let your kids go off, out of the light. Just be vigilant. That's all you got to do.
Keep them near, and staying in groups probably the main thing.
They do have breeding seasons as well, which they'll probably be a bit more active and probably a bit more aggressive as well. So check with the local rangers and just be prepared. But don't be scared. Just be aware.
Tip number 9, points of interest. So if you're new to coming over to the island and checking it out, there's obviously heaps of exciting things to see and do, especially for kids and stuff like that. So you've got things like all the freshwater lakes. Probably obviously the most famous one, and the one that everyone wants to go to, is Lake Mckenzie, because of the beautiful water and the blue water and the crystal clear and the white sand and stuff like that. So that place gets pretty busy, but all the popular sort of spots have got toilets and amenities, and they've got fenced sort of eating areas, I suppose, in there too. So you got your Lake Mckenzie, you've got Eli Creek out on the beach there. That's another beautiful spot. You can blow up a tube and float down the creek on your tube. The kids love playing there. You could spend a whole day there. You've got the old shipwreck Nahino up there, which there's not much left of now. It's getting
pretty low,
eaten away, but stop in and have a look at that, get a photo of that. You got things like the champagne pools up the top there, which is a good spot to have a swim.
Oh, beautiful.
Take
a trip over to the western side as well. Eli Creek was
west
beautiful.
Is beautiful.
Nice
and peaceful over there too.
Really nice areas.
Really nice. So look, there's heaps of interesting little spots that you can check out, and the kids love to spend. Everything's obviously a bit of a drive because it is a big island, so just plan your trip around that, depending on whether you want to camp in different spots and visit all these different things along your way. You can see one each day and camp in that area. That's probably a really good way to do it, because you don't use as much fuel, or maybe you base yourself in one spot and do day trips out. It's totally up to you, but
there's something for everyone here. There's canyon trails, there's hiking, Central Station. It's beautiful. There's
heaps of things to see. Or you might just be into fishing and you just want to plonk up and fish. There's plenty of fish here to catch. So.
And tip number 10, leaving the island. Take your rubbish with you. Nothing worse than rocking up to a campsite and someone's left toilet paper or something in the sand dune, or bits of popper straws, or bottle caps. Don't be a grub. Take your rubbish with you. And also, if you do rock up and there is a bit of rubbish there, pick it up yourself and put it in your bin. We need to look after this island. We got to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because if it gets abused and gets trashed, they're just going to shut it off, and no one's going to be able to come in and have a look at it. So do the right thing. Leave the area better than when you found it. Everyone's going to be happy.
100%. Well, hopefully those tips have helped you out. There's probably heaps of things we've missed. There's heaps of things we could have gone into more detail, but they're just some basic tips to help you get over here and explore and check it out. And enjoy this place while we've still got it, like Matt said.
Even if you don't have a full drive, there's plenty of tag-along tours where you can actually hire a vehicle.
100%.
You can do day trips on the big four-drive buses.
Jump on a tourist bus.
Yeah, so there's heaps of you can even take a plane in if you want.
Yeah.
There's planes landing all the time on the beach. So there's heaps of ways to get here. You can even swim if you want to. I wouldn't recommend that.
No,
but
I probably don't.
You probably could get here and swim, but I don't know where you'd put all your stuff.
Anyway, hopefully you can get over here and enjoy it if you haven't yet, and hopefully this helps you guys out with some simple questions that you might have about the place. So
remember,
the weeks are long,
the weekends are short,
so chase the weekend.
Catch ya.